All right, guys, so there was some heavy spotlight on the feds earlier this year as a few of their officials got caught up in some securities trading shenanigans, right? Buying and selling stocks in the midst of the pandemic when, they have insider knowledge, right? Let's say on the Fed's activities in the open market, right? In regards to interest rates and whatnot. And suspiciously, as the investigation is going on here to kind of figure out, what's going on with some of these sketchy trades, these officials resign, right? They resign. Okay, they dip out. Now, a month or two later, the Fed bans policymakers from owning individual stocks and restricts trading, which anybody with common sense would say, why were they allowed to own individual stocks in the first place, right? If you're an official at the Feds, again, you have access to information about what the Fed may do when it comes to interest rates and other activities that have a significant effect on the market. So why were they able to own stocks in the first place, right? But hey, that's just how it was. Now, fast forward till today, Nancy Pelosi, who's an actual politician in Washington, was asked about insider trading going on in Congress. And I want you guys to actually listen to her answer on this because it's really going to reveal how corrupt a lot of these politicians are. Take a look.
Madam Speaker, Insider just completed a 5-month investigation finding that 49 members of Congress and 182 senior congressional staffers have violated the Stock Act, the insider trading law. I'm wondering if you have any reaction to that, and secondly, should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to the second one. We have a responsibility to report in the stock, on the stock, but I'm not familiar with that 5-month review, but if people aren't reporting, they should be. Because this is a free market and we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, man. So, yeah, Nancy Pelosi. You see how quick she was to say no in regards to whether or not members of Congress should be banned from trading individual stocks, right? That's just off the cuff. Okay, off the cuff, right? No, we're a free market economy, Nancy Pelosi says, as she doesn't sound very concerned, right? You notice how she says, well, I don't really know about what you're talking about. I have no clue. And I'm like, well, if you don't know, then who would know? You are the Speaker of the House. You're third in line to be president. Aren't you supposed to be presiding over all this stuff, right? Aren't you supposed to be in charge of all this stuff, making sure that ethics rules are followed, right? But see, the thing is that she's not all that concerned about ethics when it comes to trading stocks in Congress. And I wonder why. Because Nancy Pelosi has made a name for herself in regards to some of her individual stock trades, right? And this is something I've done a video about a while back in regards to all the trades that Nancy Pelosi was making this year, in which she was basically front running policies and legislation. For example, buying Nvidia before they passed that bill to help fund semiconductor manufacturing. Okay, like stuff like that, right? That she does, and it's basically resulted in her portfolio basically being just as good as some of the best hedge funds in the world. Okay, she's basically the best stock trader in the country, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Nancy Pelosi in her trading stocks. But first, I want to talk about the Stock Act, which is what she was questioned about, which basically is toothless legislation that's supposed to hold politicians accountable for late reporting on their trades. However, nobody's actually ever held accountable when these rules are broken. So let's actually read about this. As Congress and top Capitol Hill staff have violated the Stock Act hundreds of times, but the consequences are minimum, inconsistent, and not recorded publicly. Congress has a spotty and inconsistent method for collecting fines from members and top staffers who break a federal law designed to stop insider trading and conflicts of interest, and insider investigation found. Insider's investigation of financial disclosures found that 49 members of Congress and at least 182 of the highest paid Capitol Hill staffers were late in filing their stock trades during 2020 and 2021. Oh, geez, I wonder why, right? I wonder why they were late. Lawmakers and senior congressional staffers who blow past the deadlines established by the 2012 Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge Act are supposed to pay a late fee of $200 the first time. Increasingly higher fines follow if they continue to be late, potentially costing tens of thousands of dollars in extreme cases. But accountability and transparency are decidedly lacking. No public record exists indicating whether these officials ever paid the fines. Congressional ethics staff wouldn't confirm the existence of non-public ledgers tracking how many officials paid fines for violating the Stock Act, and 19 lawmakers wouldn't answer questions from Insider about whether they paid a penalty. 10 other lawmakers said they paid their fines, but they declined to provide proof, such as a receipt or canceled check. So I want you guys to understand, there's absolutely no public record to confirm that this act and the rules are actually being enforced at all, right? It's on the books, but there's no actual real accountability, okay? Because, again, these guys, they don't believe in holding themselves accountable, right? And again, these people are lawmakers. They have inside information on what policies may or may not pass, what's coming up in Congress that could affect markets and individual companies. This lack of transparency makes it impossible to independently determine whether Stock Act lawbreakers truly face consequences, and if so, to what degree. I bet they face none. It's a situation that ethics experts say leaves the public in the dark, lets Congress off the hook, and renders the Stock Act intended to promote transparency, extinguish conflicts of interest, and defend against insider trading toothless. It also shows how Congress sets a lower standard for itself on financial conflicts of interest matters than on other concerns. For instance, consider that the House routinely issues automatic fines when members violate COVID-19 mask mandates and makes the information public. But when it comes to members' personal finances, the House doesn't do a particularly good job of policing itself on a law it helped, right? Yeah, because all of them are benefiting from it, right? The mask stuff, that's partisan nonsense. But when all of them are benefiting from this, right, Republicans and Democrats, let's be real here. Oh, yeah, they're in agreement. Let's not make any of this stuff public. Wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to understand, man. There's an illusion of two parties in this country, okay? It's an illusion. Don't get me wrong. There's slight differences, right, that may make voting for one over the other worthwhile, but they're basically the same, right? They're all corrupt, okay, for the most part. Quote, the enforcement of the financial disclosure requirements is virtually non-existent, said a former investigative counsel in the House's Independence Office of Congressional Ethics, who was granted anonymity in order to speak candidly. All right, so let's take a look at Nancy Pelosi and her trades, okay? Because, you know, she's a good stock trader. Or put it this way, Paul Pelosi is a good stock trader. Okay, because he's probably the one that's actually making the trade. He's the investments guy. People ask, well, how does Nancy Pelosi make so much money off of making a few $100,000 a year in Congress? Well, it's because her husband actually is an investments guy. Okay, now, obviously, I think that her and Paul Pelosi talk about what's going on in Congress. Obviously, he knows, and they probably definitely make trades together based off this stuff. I mean, you would be naive to believe anything different, right? But last year, she bought $20 million worth of stocks, guys. $20 million worth of securities. Okay? I mean, even Mitch, right? Even Mitch, for as corrupt as he is, he's not even on this list, right? He's not even on the list. Okay? Now, Pelosi and her options, her stocks, and her average returns is beating the market, right? At the very least, 1 year returns from last year, as her options return over 60%. Stocks, 40%. Her average return was about between 40 and 60%. Looked like 50, 55%. Now, the Dow was just a little bit over, 30, 35%, it looks like, based off this chart. And the S&P 500 was right around there as well, too. Okay, so she is smoking the market, right? She's beating the market. That's something that a vast majority of mutual funds / hedge funds, stock portfolios, they strive to generate what we call alpha, which is just excess returns over a benchmark. And most of the time, the benchmark is like the market or something, the Dow Jones, S&P 500, something like that, right? Nancy Pelosi generating all types of alpha, right? All kinds of alpha, right? Again, I just don't think it's a coincidence. I really don't. So, yeah, I mean, there's a interesting little write-up here from Unusual Whales that keeps track of Nancy Pelosi's trades. Highly recommend this website if you guys are into looking at this stuff, right? But this is, again, just an example of the corruption, right? And it's funny because when asked about it, she's straight up like, no, members of Congress shouldn't be banned from trading stocks. It's the free market. And I'm like, well, you should be banned from trading individual stock, because I feel like, in my opinion, a reasonable thing would be for them to just be able to buy the market, right? They only can buy a broad-based index fund and bond funds, and that's it. What's wrong with that? And they can be happy with their little 10 to 12% return per year, right? They should be happy with that. But see, again, they don't want to do that because they know that that will end the money train for them, right? And people talk about term limits and trying to, keep us from having career politicians. You might not even need term limits. Maybe you just need to ban them from trading individual stocks, right? Maybe that will keep them from being in office forever if they can't make money off of insider trading. Maybe they'll actually keep them out of Congress, right? Because that's what a lot of these people are doing. They're sitting in here and they're making money, getting rich off of insider trading. It makes no sense how these people make a few $100,000 a year and some of these people leave office millionaires. I mean, many times over, right? We're not talking about being a millionaire, just, saving up your money. No. Many times over being a millionaire. Okay? It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's a perverse system that has no accountability whatsoever. And it starts at the top with Nancy Pelosi, who happens to be the queen of all this. The queen of insider trading, allegedly. So, like I said, man, this type of stuff, again, unless we fix this type of corruption, there's really not that much hope for politics. It's really not. Okay, because this is where it starts. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.